Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I am your host, Guy, joined by my fellow co-host, Brewer,
Hey, everybody.
Connor,
Hello.
and Liam.
Hi.
All right, everyone. Well, we got a lot talked about today. Wait, why does it feel like...
Oh my god.
Did we just fall out of the sky?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks for using your hat as a sailcloth, Liam. You really saved us there.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Thanks. You're the goat.
Of course. Wait. Are we missing? I feel like we're missing something. I don't know.
Wait, where's Guy?
Ow! You didn't save me! Dude, come on.
No.
Well, at least no one important got hurt. But we still got to record, so what should we do, boys?
Well, I mean, since we just fell out of the sky and all, what about Skyward Sword?
No, that game sucks!
It's pink! Shut the fuck up, Connor, you stupid
Connor.
bitch!
Go eat shit, Connor.
Connor, genuinely reconsider your life choices.
Kill yourself.
I sentenced you to 30 straight hours of having to scroll Twitter.
No! Wait, please! No! No!
Yeah.
Those were the fumes from going on Twitter.com.
Oh god. But with that being said, boys, today we have a very, very awesome video for you today. We have Skyward Sword, The Legend of Zelda. I fucking love this game. I know it is very controversial in terms of, like, the Zelda community for what it is, but I am personally a lover of this game. I think it is fantastic, and I can't wait to talk about it today.
Yeah, this game sucks. I'm joking. Despite the intro, I do really love this game. I think it's one of the best Zelda games we have.
That's cool and all, Connor. We're still sentencing you to 30 hours of Twitter.
No! No!
Yeah, beyond us torturing Connor, though, Skyward Sword is a great game overall. It was very controversial for its time, but I think with the remaster that released a couple years ago, well, that still did have some controversy, but for different reasons. But it's viewed as, I think it's viewed in a more high regard now than what it used to be. Especially now that the motion controls are optional.
I've always said this, but I think Zelda fans are like some of the most privileged motherfuckers in the world. They'll take like a singular flaw with their games and like exacerbate it to like a point where they think that their entire concept and perception of the game is just that one flaw, even though like most Zelda games are like 10 out of 10. So it's like they just find one flaw and they be like, this is what prevents it from being awesome. And I feel like that's what happened to Skyward Sword. I feel like we're starting to see it a little bit with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, too.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Zelda fans would not survive if, like, they got a Sonic 06 situation. They would be full-on nom.
Imagine the CDI games released on a proper console.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if I'm just saying, Zelda fans, I agree with you wholeheartedly, guys. Zelda fans are spoiled as fuck. Like, every game, like, at least all the modern ones are all, like, fantastic games.
I mean, how a lot of the retro ones are still great, too.
I say a lot of the retro ones, and then I was gonna say that, but it was like, almost all of them, because we do have Zelda 2.
Zelda 2 is just really different for its time. It's a weird one.
Yeah, but I say we get into Skyward Sword now, since we should talk about that and what it is.
No, we should. We definitely should. Skyward Sword is the main release of the Nintendo Wii for the Zelda series, and because of that, Nintendo wanted to lean heavily into the Wii's motion control systems to play the game. So the gimmick of this Zelda game is that you have to swing your sword in different directions using the Wiimote motion controls originally to solve puzzles, to use it in combat. It was pretty much like a necessity everywhere. And personally, I've never played with the motion controls because I play with the Switch HD controls, but like this did spark a lot of controversy because of the the motion controls, but I've also heard an equal amount of good things with it. Liam can probably talk more about that.
Yes, so I think I'm the only person here who's played the original Wii version. I got the game on eBay, didn't even know it required motion controls, and my parents were like, "Wait, does your Wii remote have controls?" And I went, "I don't know." And then I opened up the package, and they got really mad at me because I thought I didn't have Wii Motion Plus, but I did. So I played the game. I loved it. I love the Wii Motion controls, but I can't understand like having gripes with it. It is a tiny bit finicky, but like it's cool. You get to fight. You get to like cut. You have to cut things in certain directions. You like point. You can like move your arm. And for me, it was a little weird because I'm left-handed, so I had to play right-handed because Link is right-handed.
I feel you on that.
Even though it's kind of funny because Link is supposed to be left-handed, but then he switched to right-handed because of the Wii. Fun fact.
Yeah, no, they've had him as right-handed for a while, which I kind of hate as a fellow lefty, because like for all the older games, it's like, oh cool, there's someone like me who's lefty, and then there's like, no. Fuck
Yeah,
you.
no, they had to change it because they thought that people wouldn't like swinging the Wii remote with someone who's left-handed while being
Well, there's
right-handed.
just more people that are right-handed, so.
True. So, yeah, no, I really like the motion controls. I like all the stuff you can do. I like searching with the remote. I like the first person. I like having to like reach your arm up into the sky. It makes me feel like a little badass as a tiny little child. It was awesome. And by tiny little child, I mean I was like 14, 15, I think.
Baby Liam.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I
Baby
am
Liam,
a
let's go.
I'm a big fan of the system. I know some people aren't, but I liked Wii Motion.
Yeah, I
A
tried the
lot.
motion controls on Switch as well. They weren't too bad. Like, I did primarily play with the thumbsticks just because that was most convenient, especially after a long day of work. Then just playing in my room, just so I don't have to swing around too much. But like, the motion controls weren't bad. Like, they were surprisingly enjoyable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
they're. I think, like you said earlier, people just like to bitch and whine because they don't like it themselves, or maybe they don't know how to set up a Wii motion sensor. Because like the console came with it. It was part of the console, and for a Zelda game to use it, they used it very well. They didn't like make it an afterthought. It was like a core part of the gameplay.
Yeah, well, that
And-
and another thing to mention with Skyward Sword specifically, it used the upgraded Wii Motion Plus, because the motion controls for the original Wii just use the IR sensor, mostly to kind of mimic that, and then some very loose motion controls. But the Wii Motion Plus that was used for games like Wii Sports Resort and Skyward Sword was a lot more advanced. It's more similar to the gyroscopes we use in a lot of stuff today to give you more precise movements. Basically to kind of give you the motion that they actually promised with the Wii, but it originally didn't really have. They were just kind of pretending to have. And
Yeah.
like the game came with a remote that had Wii Motion Plus built into it, so I never really saw that as a big issue.
Yeah, it was just a whole thing of like, yeah, some people didn't have the best use of like Wii Motion, so they didn't get a lot out of the funny little controls. But that's not like it is an integral part of the game, but it is a thing where people spend way too long looking at that part of the game, and they miss all the great stuff about the game and how good of a game it truly was.
Yeah, well, I think that
No,
goes for
really.
like a lot of Wii games in general. Because I think the problem is just the Wii, like it's a great console, but it has a lot of shitty shovelware on it that has some like bad motion controls. So like for a while, I think it's just been ingrained in people's minds that like motion control is bad for everything. Like yeah, it was forced in some even Nintendo games to where it's like, okay, you could have just used the button for this. Hell, even with the home menu, it's like, why can't I just use the D-pad to scroll through this? But even then, like the motion controls were very good in Skyward Sword. Like
They're
you'd have a couple
intuitive.
iffy spots here and there, but like, dude, you cannot tell me it's not fun to swing around on the sword.
It's so
Actually feel like
sick. It really is.
Yeah,
It really was a
man,
really
Where's your sense of
cool.
whimsy? Where's the wonder?
Yeah,
It's a really cool thing that they did that just kind of gets like thrown to the sidelines because some people just don't like that, and that's completely fair. I do think in hindsight it should have been more optional, or like it should have prefaced that you need it more, but like it is an integral part of Skyward Sword, and that is why we are talking about it so much.
yeah, because you really can't talk about Skyward Sword without mentioning the motion controls, because it's built into the game.
Yeah, it's a key part of the combat and a lot of the puzzles as well.
Yeah,
You can't really avoid it.
yeah.
Which, speaking of, we should talk about like some of the items and dungeons.
Well, I was gonna say, why don't we start with the story first and then move into
Sure,
that?
I'm
Yeah,
down.
well, especially
Let's
because
do it,
Skyward
let's do it.
Sword's story is very interesting because like a lot of it is just the same, but it's actually like the originator in the timeline of the Zelda series, so it's like the prequel to all the Zelda games.
Yeah,
It's true.
I really like Skyward Sword's story. I think it has one of the better ones in the Zelda series, because, as you know, Brewer said, it's the prequel to the to the uh, Zelda games, and they do a lot with this concept because one of the big like parts of this game is literally creating the Master Sword, like turning the Master Sword into the Master Sword, which I think is so cool. Like
Yeah,
We should talk about like yeah, we should talk about like the story like initially before we get into like the big stuff like that.
Yeah, so I guess as a brief synopsis, Skyward Sword story is you are, of course, Link, little sprinkle lingle Link, and you are just enjoying your day, and you know you're doing shit, and Zelda, who's one of your friends, suddenly gets kidnapped by an evil tornado, and you have to go on a quest essentially to rescue her. You know, standard Zelda game stuff.
I little add on. You live on a sky island, and that is the only world you know. You think that below you is just emptiness,
the void.
and
Yeah.
you see Zelda get taken down, and you are like, and then the sky opens up, and you realize that there's an entire other world below your own.
Yeah, and then Link, being the Giga Chad he is, he doesn't care. He goes down there without any fear, and because you know he's got to save his girl, you know, because he's a Giga Chad.
True, he is Giga Chad. But
Um,
like what opens there is like what goes from like, oh, you think it's just a cloud game, turns into like a very fun action adventure game where you're like going back and forth between like this city in the sky and the ground below. And I think this okay, I will say this. My biggest gripe with the game is the amount of backtracking there is with like going back between the sky and the same land over and over again. But
Yeah,
I just
especially
think it's
towards the
so
end.
cool. Especially towards the end. But like it is so cool going like in between settings like this with such contrast and all of them having like really good detail. They all feel very unique and different, and that's what I love about it.
yeah, I personally think I if I had to say like story wise, Skyward Sword is definitely like probably my second favorite out of the Zelda series. Like,
I'm with you on that.
yeah, I love how like I think my favorite part about it is just how the characters are, because you feel like, and a lot of the cutscenes where like Link is having to like is like kind of chase after Zelda, who is going on her own quest throughout the story, like in the background. You like anytime he's close to getting her, like you can feel like his either heartbreak at the fact he wasn't able to finally rescue her, or like just the amount of like care they have for each other. Like, it's great.
You really
I think a
feel
big
like
reason as to
the
why I like
hero
the
of
story is
time.
like oh, what were we saying, Liam?
You really feel like the hero of time. I was making a you really feel like Batman IGN joke.
Real.
I see.
You
The-
really
I was
feel
gonna
like the green tunic wearing bimbo.
The exaggerated swagger of a Skyloftian.
True. I was gonna say that I think a good reason as to why like the story is so memorable and fun is because like they do a very good job of characterization, especially with like Zelda as a character, Girahim like the main antagonist, and the goated side character that is Groose and his Groosinator.
The
Oh
Groot
yeah, we love the
Groose,
Groose.
Groose
versus
is
lose.
the most. He has the coolest character development I have ever seen. It's
I
so awesome.
yeah, I unironically think Groose is one of the best characters in the Zelda series because his character arc is so fucking good.
No, I agree with you. Well, I think there's not a lot of competition though, because like he's one of the few Zelda characters I feel like that actually does have an arc.
That is true. That is true. Um, for just a again, please play this game for the story alone. It's so good, but Groose's character arc essentially starts out. He's like the typical like shove you into lockers bully character, and throughout the story as you progress like he obviously has like feelings for Zelda, so he tries to one up Link and like rescuing her, and so he follows you down into uh the like I guess what would it be called, this it wouldn't be called the surface, whatever, the
Oh
land.
yeah, it is the surface.
No,
It's
it
the
is, it is
surface.
the surface.
Okay. He follows you to the surface, and so he's like, "Holy shit, what the fuck is this?" And after that, he slowly starts spending time with an NPC down there that like is sort of like a guide to you, and he slowly just starts to learn to like be a good person and realize that like even if he's not destined to like, rescue Zelda, he's still going to do whatever he can to help her because she's his friend.
Well, then to
And
help Link as well. Like they form a genuine friendship and
Yeah,
bond.
it's
It's really sweet to see in all honesty, because like he goes from just like again typical bully and just an actual lovable good guy that's trying to do the best he can for his friend.
that's one of
Yeah.
my favorite things about this game in general is that most of the characters that we ever see in the Zelda franchise, this is the most expressive that they ever have and maybe ever will be with each other, because like you can tell in like facial expressions and like all of that. It's got like a lighter color scheme, but a lot of like the characters are a lot more expressive because it's got more of like a cartoony vibe
Yeah.
going for it, and it's really cool to see because it just like allows these characters to be super expressive even if it's like over the top expressive, and it's awesome.
I really want Link to be as expressive as he is in this game, in another game. Like, I get the appeal of like stoic, no expression Link and stuff like that.
It can serve a purpose if the story calls for it, like it did in Breath of the Wild, but in this one he is just a naive kid.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like in Breath of the Wild, Link does give some expressions, but a lot of the time it's like it's really only with food, which like true, like relatable goat, but I really love the like energetic, expressive attitude that this Link has. It actually makes him feel like a character and not like, you're just the player character,
I think Skyward Sword it had a good balance of like the serious moments and then balancing it out with like the goofy stuff with like characters like Groose.
And like there's so much more I could talk about with the story in this game, like Girahim and Fi. I'll give brief context on these two. Girahim is like he's the main antagonist for most of the game, but it gets revealed later that he's like like a puppet for the excuse me, he's like a puppet for the big bad, and it's so cool. Like Girahim's one of the best characters from this game, definitely. Like he's just so sassy and he has a lot of like personality and attitude, and I really like that. And Fi is like she's your Navi, she's your companion who is kind of like the complete opposite of Girahim, where she's kind of like a robot, but as the story progresses, she slowly starts to get more and more of a personality, and then at the end, it's like, ooh, the ending bit is so good.
It
Yeah,
really
we can
is. I
maybe
know what you're talking
mention
about.
some of that stuff later in the spoiler section at the end.
Yeah.
Either way,
Or maybe I don't know.
Story is fantastic, especially with the Bard Zelda games set. Like I love Zelda games, but a lot of them just do not have the story there. But I think Skyward Sword is just one of the outliers in that, where it's like, okay, yeah, it's not like Shakespearean writing or anything, but it's a very enjoyable story
Yeah,
that
a
will
lot
actually
of
keep
the,
you intrigued.
a lot of the, at least in my opinion, a lot of the more like older games, like I love Majora's Mask story. Like it's my favorite Zelda story. I think Skyward Sword's really good. Twilight Princess also has a good story. I would like to return to form to those types of stories in the future for Zelda games.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Honestly, yeah.
You go first.
Diverting away from the story a little bit, I want to talk about like this was kind of like a big game for the Zelda franchise. They introduced a lot of mechanics in here that like were very vital to the series now, like the stamina meter. A lot of the criticisms of this game, for some reason, were that it's linear, which I'm gonna be real. I really don't care that it's linear. I think it creates like a well-paced game, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people. What's up?
I have a very big gripe with this whole linear thing. Linear games, in my opinion, are a better type of game. Because, like, sure, there's not as much exploration, but when your whole, like, goal is to create, like, a compelling story, linear games just allow you to do that on a much, like, tighter level than, like, an open world game would be able to do. Or, like, like a non-linear game would be able to do. And I just have problems with people who are like, yeah,
It's too linear.
it's too, like, the too linear is such a stupid argument.
Yeah, because I will say, for like, I will say I love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. One of my biggest gripes with those games is the story, and the reason the story, like at least I hypothesize, the reason they didn't focus too much on the story for those games is because it's an open world. Because you could sequence break and get stories, the bits of the story at different parts. But then,
Or
Yeah,
because you had different parts of the story, they just recycle the same lines over and over and over again so that you wouldn't go out of order.
Yeah, well, then
Demon King,
dipping away
Sacred
from
Stone.
God, Psycho Mantis. Yeah, I think dipping away from the story for a bit, that also, I think, directly affects the gameplay. And one of the biggest things people love about the Zelda series, the dungeons. Because, like, the dungeons in Skyward Sword, yeah, they're linear, especially compared to stuff in Tears of the Kingdom. But there's not a single dungeon that I would compare to even, like, the worst Skyward Sword dungeon in Tears of the Kingdom. Because I'm sorry, but, like, some of the dungeons, like, I'll be like, this is neat. This is cool. But I prefer the linear dungeons for, like, the more properly structured puzzle instead of the, okay, here's 5 random puzzles stranded around this small map. Go solve each of them, and then you'll open the center area, because like that's how all the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom were. Some of them had a couple unique mechanics, but none of them are matching like Ancient Cistern, I'm sorry, or the Sand Ship.
And the
No,
problem,
I think Skyward Sword is the best dungeons in the series. Like, dude,
100%.
they're really good.
they are definitely the
But even
best.
not matching Skyward Sword, a lot of like Link Between Worlds as well. Like,
Oh my god,
look at
yes.
the dungeons there as well. You can do those out of order, but like they still have proper structure. They still have a proper path for you to follow to spark those little dopamine bits in your brain.
Yes, like as I was playing through Skyward Sword, like I was getting those dopamine hits because it was like I'm actually solving a puzzle instead of just running around and being able to solve it on my own.
It's like, oh man, the character that just joined me, that has a fan ability. There's something that like wants to be hit with air in this random part of the dungeon. Damn, I wonder what I gotta do.
Yeah, and it's like we go into this, me and Brewer go into this in our Echoes of Wisdom video, but the more the Zelda series is going to try and be open world, and I think they have said they're going to try and go more open world, I feel like the more it hurts the core of what Zelda is, because like this game, like Skyward Sword, I personally feel like is a great encapsulation of what Zelda is. It's got incredible dungeons, a great story, really good gameplay, and when you're going more open world, it leads to the fact that like you can't really concentrate super hard on those awesome dungeons and awesome puzzles, because you're able to do a lot of shit, and so it can break those puzzles easily.
Yeah, well, they just need a better balance, because like instead of just like, oh, go one way linear, go one way open world, like we wouldn't have Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom if they didn't stray away from the traditions we had for so long. Like, I'm glad they did that. But to some degree, for the next game, especially with the errors we saw in Tears of the Kingdom, it would be really nice if they look back to maybe a link back to the past. I'm gonna kill myself, but maybe looking back to see like, hey, maybe some of this linear design was actually pretty good and people loved it for a reason.
And you know what sucks? I feel like because so many people complained about the linearness of this game, I think Nintendo took that to mean, oh, linear equals bad, openness equals good, which isn't always the case.
I feel like they also took some of that philosophy with like Mario Odyssey as well, because like now thinking about it, like some of their like big release titles haven't been really that linear. If I'm thinking correctly,
Yeah.
like obviously
Yes,
Odyssey has
linear
like
game,
you're supposed to like take the like obviously you're supposed to like do certain worlds in a certain order in Mario Odyssey, but it's like really you could do practically whatever the fuck you wanted in that game. Hell, you didn't even have to do the most of the boss fights to beat it. Now thinking about it.
Yeah, to be fair, I think Mario Odyssey does a great mix between openness and linearness, where you do have to go into an order of worlds, but there's a lot of openness in those levels, in those worlds. I think it does that really well. I think Zelda just hasn't really adapted super well.
Well, another thing to mention with Mario Odyssey is like, yeah, you don't have to do the bosses, but it's very much structured to where like you as a player will want to go do that stuff. So you're naturally going to go on that path anyways, even if you don't have to. And when you do go on that path, there is a very linear, structured set path that's very fun to go through. There's some set obstacles. Yeah, you can open it up a little bit, like making your own putting your own moves in there. But there's still a set path that the developers want you to go through. That's just a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. That is true.
Instead of just something that has to apply to everybody. So you can't reach those like highs as much as you would if you had just focused on one thing.
Yeah, when you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one.
You know, there's like jack of all trades, master of none. That's the best way I can say it.
No,
Yeah,
that's fair.
that's-
But like,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is like you've got to be able to master that one thing, and the one thing that Skyward Sword, in terms of dungeons, mastered was that great feeling of puzzle design. A few standouts, in my opinion, would have to definitely be Ancient Cistern and Sandship. Those are some of the best dungeons in the game, and
In the series.
in the series as well. And I think a great reason why they work is that they have one core real concept to them, and they execute that concept really well. So for example, Ancient Cistern's whole thing is that throughout the dungeon, in the middle of it is a giant like sort of Buddha statue, like Buddha-like statue, and throughout the dungeon you have to keep exploring in order to find ways to raise and lower the statue till you can get the statue high enough to get to the top of the dungeon and fight the boss. That's its whole gimmick, and the gimmick works really well because it allows you to the exploration throughout the dungeon in order to find a way to raise and lower this uses the dungeon item, and it uses the like actual level design really well in doing that.
Well, that and like visually it's great as well too, because it's like it's kind of supposed to be representing a cycle of like life and death, which really works with the Buddha statue in there as well.
Yeah.
So, like, all around, just like it makes for just a very, very amazing dungeon to go through visually.
it's so good.
And then gameplay wise, it feels so satisfying exploring every nook and cranny of it.
Yeah. And then Sandship's whole gimmick is I guess for like a quick like context, the desert area of Skyward Sword, which was one of the best areas in Zelda IMO, all the desert areas have this thing where there are these crystals called time stones, and if you hit a time stone, it'll transform the surrounding area back to the past. So when you hit these, you can see that this desert was actually a lush and very like green, like vibrant, like sort of like oceany, foresty area, which is really cool. And the Sandship's whole gimmick is that you are finding these time stones throughout the ship in order to restore the ship back to what it was when it was actually active. And you can find dead pirates, and when you hit the time stone, they come back alive, and you have to fight them. You fight a pirate captain who's like a robot. It's really cool. Like, it's just an all-around great dungeon that executes on its concepts really well.
Oh yeah, I love that one so much, especially like not even the main boss, but like the mid boss as well is such a cool fight.
Yes, the main boss is it's a boss, but the mid boss is a great boss. It's such a good fight.
Oh yeah, a duel between like, I guess, a new challenger and then like a captain staying by a ship.
Yeah. We'll get into bosses later, but I will say a flaw I do have with this game is that it has some really great bosses and then some of the worst in the series at IMO.
Damn, it's just like
Who
Dark Souls 3.
who are some of the worst ones? I'm curious.
What?
Imprisoned.
Some of the worst ones. I'm
The
curious.
Imprisoned.
Imprisoned.
Oh yeah, no, oh my god, I forgot about the Imprisoned.
The Imprisoned isn't even like too bad by itself, but the fact you have to fight it 3 times, yeah, no, go go away.
Yeah.
I hate seeing you in Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah, we will give more context on the Imprisoned later when we actually
Yeah,
do delve into the
but
bosses.
it is legitimately one of the worst boss fights in a video game I have ever had. The
Yeah, it's
displeasure of fighting.
awful.
I don't think it's the worst, but it's just like you have to do it 3 times. That's the worst part about it.
Yeah, it's not great at all.
If you had to do like the final phase of the Imprisoned, like the third part, like just once, I don't think nearly as many people would hate it.
Yeah. But I think I mentioned this earlier, but something I think we should talk about is the dungeon items, or like mini gadgets you can get throughout the game, and essentially how great a lot of them are.
I think this is like the best roster of like gadgets in the whole series. I'm gonna be real. I think they're all incredible.
I would disagree, but I think they are up there.
I would also disagree. I think, okay, it's technically not like dungeon items, but I would say that the Majora's Mask system with the
I was gonna say Tears, Twilight Princess.
I haven't played Twilight Princess, which is why I didn't say that, but I've heard Twilight Princess also has a good roster, but there are a lot of great items in this game. A few standouts for me are the Gust Bellows, the Flying Scarab Beetle.
The Scarab Beetle is so
Yeah,
awesome.
the claw shots are really cool as well.
Oh yeah,
because they incorporate the Wiimote, like first person.
Yeah, I really like how the claw shots work, because it's a great twist on the hook shot, but instead of it being like a little like gadget, they're these giant claws that you can shoot hooks out at, and like you can do these really cool like platforming sections with them.
Yeah, well, like the hookshot has always been a really cool item, like in combat, then also just for like traveling around. But like the claw shot's even cooler because like you got 2 of them. So you can claw onto something, hold on with one of the claw shots, and then use the other one to grab onto something else, like you're freaking Spider-Man.
Yeah, you feel like Spider-Man, dude. It's awesome.
So
Makes me
sick.
feel the exaggerated swagger of a green
Swagger.
tunic-wearing bimbo.
Real. But yeah, exactly. Like like the Scarab Beetle is such a fun item because it's essentially a drone. You'll shoot it out and then you can control it for a limited time. But the part where it's awesome is that you can do a lot of shit with it. You can like run around and collect rupees. You can cut like ropes or threads of enemies, and you can grab bombs and become a kamikaze pilot.
That's so awesome.
You
dude.
can.
Then
you
some
can
enemies
be
were
like-
scared of it too. I
be like
remember
Hollow
like
Knight.
on the sand ship dungeon, like I was using the beetle to scare a lot of the enemies off the ship and jump to their deaths. Though I did actually encounter a weird glitch. Probably it's not a major one, but like I used the beetle. It tried to run off and it just started walking on air. I was like, okay, that's neat.
He's just Jesus. You just found Jesus the enemy.
Jesus walked on water. I don't remember
Jesus enemy.
walking on air.
It's Zelda Jesus. He can walk on air and water. You got a buff.
Well, I guess it's Skyward Sword, so since there's more sky than water.
Exactly. He gets the sky buff.
They had to retcon the Bible a little bit for that one.
Yeah, which is funny because the Bible does exist in Zelda,
What?
which is really yeah. In one of the it was like one of the very first Zelda games, but in the I can't remember if it was in the game or in a guide. You can it literally shows the Bible, which is super funny.
Wait, hold on. I didn't know this. The Bible is canon in Zelda.
Yes,
It's
well,
true.
maybe not anymore, but
I think they took a lot of that stuff out, especially with Western releases, because Zelda did have a lot of like censorship when moved over that, and like that era of like the first Zelda games. There were a lot of games that didn't even come to America just because of religious symbolism. Like, do you guys know that one assist trophy for like the devil that points and moves the screen around
yeah,
in Smash? That I can't remember the exact name's game for that, like maybe Devil's World or something, but because you use a cross to take out demons, they didn't ever like bring it over to America, at least I think back in the 80s, 90s, just because of the religious symbolism. They don't care as much now, obviously.
so I looked it up.
Back then, it was a bit more of a taboo to ever do any of that shit.
So in the
He's
Japanese.
Christian?
So in the Japanese version of the original Zelda game, the Book of Magic was actually the Bible, and that's what its name was until it got, like, obviously, as Brewer was talking about, it was brought over to the West, and so they changed it to the Book of Magic. And in fact, another fun fact is that apparently Christianity was the intended religion of the Zelda series before they created, like, the golden goddesses and shit.
Hey guys, it's me, the Bible from Zelda.
Dude, imagine Jesus blesses your Master Sword to go fight Ganondorf.
whenever,
Hell yeah! Nintendo, hire us for the next game, please.
whenever you fight Demise, he's like, "Hey, it's me,
Dude, that should be.
guys from the Bible."
Dude, I think there's like a couple items, like some games that are like, I'm maybe not sure in Zelda because I haven't played every Zelda game, but I think that lets you kind of walk on water. So like Jesus should give you the items that let you walk on water. Here's the water walking shoes.
Exactly.
You get a duration of 60 seconds whenever you use them. That you can recharge it by doing a 20-second prayer.
True.
Dude, this game sounds awesome. Holy shit.
I think we've been going on about
The Bible.
The
Jesus
Bible.
for a bit too long.
Zelda retconning the Bible.
That's insane.
That's
Oh my god. That's really funny though. I'm glad we brought that up because that's something I just did not know about. But yeah, no, going back to like the gadgets, like I think a lot of them are just really fun and they're unique because like they were made in terms of like in tune with the motion control. So like the bug net, if you want to catch like bugs, you have to like swing the remote down. If you want to use the bow, you have to aim it correctly. And I think it translates really well into just having really fun gadgets, especially with like, I know this was already said, but like the claw shots, the idea of having two of them so you can like use the motion controls to like look in to like claw in multiple times. I think it's so sick.
It's so
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, the item roster is just a great. She's great in this game. Another standout is the mole mitts. I think that's what they're called. I like the mole mitts.
Oh yeah, are those the ones that you dig in the ground for? Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like a I want to say like there's like sometimes a mini game you can do where like you're chasing around like enemies in the thing and you gotta attack them with the mole mitts. It's really fun.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd say we've talked about the items. So
I think we should go into what the items are actually used for.
Oh,
Maybe the
yeah.
dungeons and then the bosses.
Okay, so we did briefly talk about the dungeons earlier, but
But I'm just kind of curious. Is everyone's favorite dungeon here? Mine is Ancient Cistern.
Mine is also Ancient Cistern. It's just the best one.
Yeah, okay,
Ancient
it's Ancient Cistern.
We're like
we
that
are
Buzz Lightyear thing. We all have unique opinions. What's the best Skyward Sword dungeon? Ancient Cistern.
Ancient Cistern.
It's Ancient Cistern.
Like,
Let's be for real. We know what it is.
yeah, Ancient Cistern is one of the best designed dungeons in just Zelda history. So
I was also kind of just wanted some standouts as well. Not the one we thought was objectively the best, but like, what are some standouts to you guys?
I like the lava one.
Here. I've already brought up Sandship. Earth Temple, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Earth Temple's really good because it also has a very epic, funny boss. I've already talked about Sandship. Brewer, is there another standout that you have?
I think the Fire Sanctuary was pretty cool.
Oh, the Fire Sanctuary is pretty cool. Yeah. And Guy, did you give a standout?
I'm trying to think of one that's like really stand out for me at least. I like the Sky Keep, which is like the final dungeon. I really like the gimmick with that one.
Sky Keep's awesome, yeah. But yeah, no, all the dungeons, like, I'm looking through a like dungeon list, and I genuinely don't think there's a single bad one. Like, Skyview Temple's really good. The Lanayru mining facility's fun. Fire Sanctuary, we already mentioned, is fun. Like, I don't think there's a single miss in dungeon design here.
There really isn't, and I do want to talk about why that is. Like, there's no water temple in this game. Like, there is a temple that uses water, but it's not like that is of the quality of the water temple. You know what I mean?
Just no more water. We are going to destroy the Zora race, so there's no more water. The water temples.
We're debuffing Jesus again. Yeah, but
changing the 7.8 to a 10. No water.
We're gonna do like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Instead of like removing all the airbenders, though, it's gonna be like all the water benders. So it's gonna be Avatar: The Last Waterbender.
Real.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I will say I do like that Zelda sort of moved away from having huge water-based dungeons. That at the most we'll get is like a dungeon based around water, but you're not doing any like water movement and stuff like that. Like,
I'm glad they got rid of that. Like, I know there's some swimming in Skyward Sword, but it's like not like a main focus. And I'm gonna be real, the swimming in that game is kind of ass. So I am glad they didn't really lean on it too much. But like,
yeah,
dude, if they did
actually,
an entire dungeon based on swimming.
One really cool section with the water. Like, do you remember when like the whole forest got flooded and you had to explore it, but it was like underwater? Yeah, no, that was like honestly a really beautiful section because like this forest that you were really familiar with, just a nice calming place. Now it's just completely flooded, and you explore it in a new light of just it's a whole lake now.
Yeah, and that's something I want to briefly touch on. I really like how the game does backtracking at first in this game, because a lot of the times when you have to because there are three main areas in this game. There's the forest area, the desert area, and then the volcano area. And every time you have to backtrack to some of these, and most of the times in the story, they'll do something to change it up. So, like, for the forest area, as we mentioned, it gets flooded, and so you have to, like, do a bunch of stuff to get it unflooded. And for the fire one, this one is less good because you have to do a stealth mission, and you have to do a stealth mission through a very heavily guarded area when everything's kind of like on fire, and it kind of sucks.
Yeah, they were hit or miss, but at the very least, the one water section they had there, that was awesome. I gotta hope they bring that back in another game to some degree. At least that concept of just like an area you're familiar with is completely flooded, so you just re-explore it.
Yeah. But I think we should get onto the bosses and
the key highlights of a dungeon.
Yeah, and I will be honest, as I said earlier, the bosses in this game are very hit or miss for me, and this game has a very mixed bag of bosses because you've got some like the Ancient Cistern boss, which I know so shocking. We think the Ancient Cistern boss is great. Koloktos, which is one of the coolest fights in a Zelda game. For context, in that fight, you use the dungeon item, which was the whip, and you literally use it to rip his arms off, take the weapon, the giant weapon he is using with his arm that he was using, take that, and then beat the shit out of him with it.
It's awesome.
A lesson in video game designs: no matter how impractical giant swords are in real life, they're always so badass to use.
They're awesome. Yeah. Like, Koloktos is such a well-designed boss, because he's like, he has like, he's not, I won't say he's like hard, because most Zelda bosses aren't really hard. But he is a very fun fight. Another standout would have to be, really any of the Girahim fights. I really like all the Girahim fights.
I love his fights too, and how like you have to like redirect, you have to like bait him out and redirect your blade to like strike him. It's so sick.
Even though you fight him multiple times, he feels unique enough to where it's like it's not annoying that I have to fight him multiple times. Unlike another boss we're about to mention.
Yeah. Speaking of a boss that you have to fight multiple times, that sucks dick.
Let me talk about this bitch. So the Imprison is just a big dude that you just cut his toes off. That's literally all you fucking do. And he's in like a big spiral, and you just have to stop him from getting to the middle of the big spiral 4 separate times. Is it 4 or is it 6? I think it's a lot. It's a lot.
I think, how many times?
I think it's 4. I'm pretty sure it's 4.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's 6. Maybe unless if you mess up the process. It's not a very hard fight at all. It's just annoying.
God, it's so annoying for no reason.
It's a big giant clump of like black licorice that has marshmallow toes. Yeah, you beat up the marshmallow toes and it goes down.
Liam is technically right. You can fight it 6 times because of the Lanayru Desert boss rush mode. So if you're unlucky, you can fight the Imprisoned.
Oh, yeah, no, I fought that bitch 6 times.
Yep.
Ew.
Yeah, so the reason the Imprisoned sucks is because, as we mentioned, he is a slow-ass giant fuck who just moves up a giant spiral, and all you do is cut his toes off in the first fight. Then in the second fight, he grows arms, and he slowly moves up the spiral, and you have to cut his toes off again. And the third fight is actually probably the best one, because you don't just have to cut his toes off, because now he can fly. And so you have to get the Grucinator and shoot him down with giant cannonballs.
And the reason it's the best is definitely because of the Grucinator.
Yeah, and then you stab your sword in his forehead, and that's it. You beat the Imprisoned. It's a shit fight. It sucks. Because it's not hard, because his only attacks are him, like, stepping down hard and causing a shockwave, which you can easily avoid. And then you just cut his toes, and congratulations, you beat the Imprisoned.
Well, and like the worst part is they act like it's such a world-ending threat whenever he's coming out, but like he's just not intimidating. Again, he's a bundle of black licorice and then has marshmallow toes. He's slowly walking up. Oh no!
And like it's so funny because every time you go to that big spiral, my first thought is, please not another one, please not another one, and then it's another one.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I always dreaded going back there sometimes because I was like, oh god, please not another Imprisoned fight, please god. Yeah.
And then it's gonna be an Imprisoned fight, and you are gonna have to fucking cope because they love the Imprisoned.
All right, Connor, I don't send it to you to 30 hours of Twitter. I send it to you to 5 more Imprisoned fights.
Oh god, no. This time he's gonna grow a penis instead!
Fuck you!
Yeah, but the only reason I think the reason I hate the Imprisoned so much is because he leads to one of the best fights in the game, which sucks. Because it's like, I have to get through this guy in order to get to Peak. But
which is the final boss, but I don't want to talk about it right now because I don't want to spoil. I know Liam has some thoughts about it.
I love that guy.
Yeah, but one boss that I also think in this game that sucks is the I don't know his name because I couldn't bother to remember it, but the Kraken motherfucker from Sandship Dungeon. This boss is kind of just bad because all he does is like try to hit you with his hentai tentacles, and then you just shoot him in the eye with your bow like 5 times. It really sucks.
Yeah, well, just making a bunch of little enemies come at you, it's kind of just an boss fight, which is crazy considering like the mid boss is better than the actual boss.
Yeah, it also does.
So true.
It also does this thing that a lot of like video games in general do, where it's like, oh, enemy has big eye, you bet your ass that's its weak point. It's like kind of tired. It's like,
Yeah, that are like the classic designs that was like, oh my god, it's a floating head with 2 giant hands. I wonder how you're gonna have to attack it. Oh, the hands have eyeballs in them.
yeah, and also it's like, I think another reason it sucks is that it's treated as like there's this huge threat of like when you're trying to escape the sand ship of like the tentacles going in and like attacking you and stuff like that, and like there's this huge buildup of like, holy shit, what is this like eldritch horror I'm about to fight? And it pops out and it literally looks like some dude from Monsters University.
Yeah, literally.
And it's just the biggest letdown ever. Like, when I was first playing the game, I was like, oh, I'm about to fight, like, Cthulhu or some shit. And it's like, oh, no, that's just, like, that's Kevin from Monsters University, the background side character. No one cares.
Considering we're talking about just the Monsters University movies, I guess it does make sense a child defeats it then, because they're deadly afraid of children in those movies, thinking they're poisonous.
You know what? You're speaking facts. That actually makes
We're
sense.
speaking facts.
But yeah,
Oh
no,
my
that
God, that's
fight
funny.
sucks. I hate Kevin. Fuck that guy.
Kevin from Monsters University. My goat?
I'm calling him Kev. I'm just gonna start calling that boss Kevin now, and people are gonna have to like, yeah, that's what.
Cope with it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But if that's is that about it? Do we have anything else we want to go over?
As far as like
I
Skyward
think
Sword
just-
without like spoiling anything, I'm good, honestly.
There's
Yeah,
there's one last thing I want to mention. Is just we mentioned this before with like backtracking and the repetitive nature. I think it is a great game. Like, still, it is worth your time to play, but it does have a problem with like repeated content and then just backtracking as well. Sometimes the backtracking is cool, like I mentioned with the area that gets flooded, re-exploring that with swimming. But then there's other stuff like the stealth missions or some bosses getting repeated. Like the pirate captain was a really cool boss, and it made sense for where it was, right? The fact that it was like a captain standing with his last ship, but then randomly you go into like back into a forest dungeon, and then there's like a blue reskin of it in there that has the exact same moveset. It's like, why are you here? This makes no sense.
Why is he blue?
Yeah, that and stuff like the Imprison. Just Skyward Sword is great, but I feel like it did have some development issues with the amount of backtracking there is for a lot of areas, that and just the amount of repeated content we got.
Yeah, and it's like, as cool as Skykeep is, it does kind of reek of like reused assets. It's a cool dungeon, but it does have like a little bit of that reused asset-y nature to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool dungeon though with how it's like designed. It's just like, I feel like they could have done something more unique than just, here's a lot of like small little bits of the areas you've visited previously.
That is fair, yeah. I do think it's cool to like get a recap of it, but like I am with you all on that. Like reused assets is like it's obvious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like other games do it too, but in Skyward Sword, it is like, I think every single area gets used like 3 times.
Yeah.
It's like,
At minimum twice.
And to be fair, a lot of times they do try and like switch it up. Like in the desert area, you have to visit that multiple times, but each area in the sand desert feels unique. Like you've got this one that's like a very like mining focused. Then you've got one that's like very focused on like, it's like literally you're exploring the sea and different like mining areas of that place too. It has a mining aesthetic to it, but I think it differentiates itself well enough. Meanwhile, with the forest area and the volcano area, I literally cannot think of like what the differences between the two, like the different areas.
Yeah.
It'd be like that, yeah.
But I think we should Do we want to do like a little spoiler section?
Yeah,
No,
it is a very old game. No, it's a very old game. I'd argue we can talk about it.
I know, but there's a fair, but I don't want people to like get spoiled on like such peakity because it is
I
peak.
would also say
Well, I
because
think the more spoiler is just like seeing the boss fight instead of the character itself. Because again, story is not the focus, especially because we've mentioned worse spoilers for games just as old, if not older, like in God of War.
well, I was also gonna say with the Switch remaster that there might be a new audience for the game. So
I don't know. The game that's
enough.
been out for a while as well.
Yeah. I think
Let's do
it's
just a
also
quick
just a,
spoiler
like
warning. We
can
can
give
mention final boss.
we can give a spoiler warning, but then again, like this is a game that like we have done spoilers for games much older than this. I think we will be fine.
yeah,
Fair enough.
Yeah, so spoiler warning here. If you don't want to get spoiled on the final boss of Skyward Sword and a couple of the story elements,
thank you
please
for
leave
watching.
the video now. But also, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yep. But now with that out of the way, this
Guys, it's the
game-
final boss. It's not Ganondorf. Whee!
Yeah, it's this as the prequel to the Zelda series, you actually do not fight Ganon or Ganondorf. You fight Demise, who is kind of just like literally the devil from the Bible.
From the Bible.
Oh my god, the Bible's back.
Yeah.
Yo, I love the part in Skyward Sword where I fought Demise by holding up my Wiimote with the cross accessory.
True. But in this, Demise is essentially just, you know, the progenitor of evil. He is the originator of like all the bad shit that happens in future games. In fact, when you kill him, he literally says like, I curse your bloodline, you and the Zelda's bloodline, to forever have to deal with some fucking fucked up shit anytime you guys
No, so if you're not aware, Demise is the originator of like the whole
of the
like
the curse of the reincarnation of like the goddess's power.
yes, and so Link and Zelda just start off as average Joe and Jane and become like a lot more than that.
literally become like the chosen hero and a goddess.
Because this guy just kind of like fucking hates them. He just is like, damn, you're kind of a bitch. I'm gonna curse your entire bloodline.
He chose to be a hater.
Loses one fight. Damn, I curse you for eternity and beyond.
What a sore loser.
It's
I
really
curse you,
utterly.
your grandchildren, and your grandchildren's grandchildren.
granddaddy.
And your grandmama.
Yeah, but it is really cool since like this is the game that started the whole cycle and like why all the Zelda games are technically connected. Like that doesn't really matter in overall scheme of things. I feel like it's just some Nintendo decided to
it's
tack
an
on
anthology
later.
series.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But like it's still cool
yeah.
to see like he's the reason for like why Ganondorf is always reborn and then like why Link and Zelda always rise back up to fight him.
Why they're always called Link and Zelda and look roughly the same every time.
Yeah, because they're just all of them are reincarnating
Yeah.
to keep the process of staving evil away.
Yeah. And I actually really like this ending. Like, yeah, it doesn't really matter, but it allows for like some really cool fan theory shit that I personally love. In fact, if you're in online discussions of like future Zelda games and stuff like that, a big thing that people have been wanting for a long time now is a game where Ganondorf isn't the bad guy and he's actually like fighting off Demise's curse of trying not to be
Dude, I
evil.
remember so many people were disappointed with Tears of the Kingdom because, like, with it being a sequel to Breath of the Wild and Ganondorf coming back in his human form for the first time in like
Ever.
fucking, like I think over a decade. Like
It was like Twilight Princess. It was a long time.
yeah, like a lot of people were really excited to see what they would do with him as a character, especially because like in Breath of the Wild, like as we mentioned, the Master Sword and Skyward Sword, or the Master Sword is made in Skyward Sword, and it has a soul in it called Fi. That's like the goddess of the sword. And like you can actually hear Fi in a couple sections of Breath of the Wild.
It's so cool, by the way.
Yeah, so like it's clear that like this is the same Master Sword, even back from then, even though it's been through some wear and tear. But then they didn't do anything with it. Ganondorf was just another lame villain. They had secret stones that were never explained.
They
Secret
literally,
stones.
And now also on the
Demon King.
timeline, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are completely separate from all the Zelda games, including Skyward Sword. So is there like another Skyward Sword out there for the Breath of the Wild timeline? I don't fucking know.
Wait, I thought it was explained that they can happen in any timeline.
No, they put it in a separate timeline all its own.
Yeah, all the other Zelda games are connected, but like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are on their own separate timeline.
This isn't a thing for Echoes of Wisdom, by the way. They put Echoes of Wisdom in a spot on the timeline.
Where is Echoes of Wisdom, by the way? I'm curious.
Actually, now that I think about it, does this give me an interesting theory? Maybe we will have the equivalent of the Skyward Sword prequel for the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom games, because we were never really fully explained to what the Zonai actually were. So.
And to be fair, I kind of knew it was obvious that those games are going to be in separate timelines, because not only do they have a lot of shit that references past games that shouldn't be happening because they're in different timelines, but they also just completely change who Rauru is in Tears of the Kingdom. They change him from the old Light Sage in Ocarina of Time to like a weird, I want to say like
goat thing,
goat dragon dude, and it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I still love those games, but there was so much missed potential, especially with Ganondorf as a character.
If we ever do a Tears of the Kingdom episode, which we will, but if we ever do that, then at least something I'm going to rag on a lot is the story of those games, because I have a lot of gripes with them, but we should focus more on Skyward Sword now. But I've always loved the Demise Curse thing, because it actually makes him feel like a threat, because it's like, even in like his defeat, he's still fucking over everyone.
He's still a hater.
Yeah, I love Demise, and I really hope sometime we get like either a like a reincarnation of him or something like that. There's this, oh man, this is bringing back flashbacks. Whenever Breath of the Wild first came out, there's this his YouTuber called Monster Maze. I'm pretty sure this is the right guy, but he did a video of like dungeons that could be in Tears of the Kingdom before it was Tears of the Kingdom, and one of those dungeon ideas he had was it's a dungeon inside the Master Sword, and you come across Fi, and you have to refight Demise. And I'm like, that's so cool, man. They should really do something like that, man.
They should really take the lore that they've built up for the game for like decades and use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of just doing the same thing and being like, oh man, guys, Ganondorf was evil? What?
Yeah. Do you want to know why so many AUs of Zelda exist? Because the lore in those games are fucking sick as shit.
They just
but they
never do anything.
They don't do anything. It's like, you've got all the ingredients for a fucking amazing buffet here, and yet you continue to make, like, McDonald's hamburgers.
No, that is honestly such a good comparison.
And it's like, I'm not saying these games have bad stories or anything. I think they have great stories, well, most of them. But
Sacred Stone, Demon King,
Demon King, Psycho Mantis,
imprisoning war.
Yeah, but I just think there's so much more they can do with these, and I think Skyward Sword is a great example of something you could do. I love Skyward Sword's story because not only is it a cool prequel, but it's also unique. You're not fighting against Ganondorf or something like that. Zelda's not kidnapped. She's actually like doing her own quest the entire time in order to achieve her destined role as the goddess, while you're going on your destined journey of becoming the hero, and you're fighting a unique villain. Like, that's why I love the story of this game so much, because of how unique it is.
That's
a big
also
reason.
why Twilight Princess is my favorite Zelda game, is because like it has some of the same story beats, but it is very much a different game.
Yeah, well, I think that's what makes even some of the newer games like Echoes of Wisdom cool as well, because they didn't just do the same thing again.
Yeah, and I will always give
Wait,
props.
are you saying that we as consumers want new things and not the same recycled content over and over again? Who would have ever thought?
Liam,
oh my god, the revelation of a century.
Liam, I'm gonna be honest, Liam. I think you're just kind of smoking shit right now. Who would ever want that?
Who would
want new content and new ideas in their video games?
You're kind of right. I'm sorry for saying anything. I won't ever I won't ever
Instead,
act again.
Go
instead,
back to consuming product, Liam,
instead,
mindlessly.
here's another remake or remaster of a game that you can still play on modern consoles today. Enjoy.
Okay, that's true. Oh man, I'm really excited for Assassin's Creed Shadow. I'm so excited for that, guys. Man, this is gonna be awesome whenever I go. I'm a small Japanese woman. Now I'm a big black guy. Wow, guys, this is awesome.
This is awesome. You're right. But yeah, I just going back and with the Zelda games, it's just really hard to because again, I love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And I feel like I have to say this every time because every time I talk about those games, I'm like hating on them.
You heathen, you hate them.
Yeah,
Okay, let me like try and like we as Zelda fans, we like fun new gameplay. It's usually awesome, but the story is what got most of us into the game, not the gameplay. And
Yeah.
we want more of that story, less of the like we still want good gameplay, but we like it's more of a thing of, hey, this is like one of the times where give us more of the old shit. We don't need new shit. I'm sorry, I love Breath of the Wild. I haven't beaten Tears of the Kingdom. I loved Breath of the Wild, but it is Breath of the Wild as a game, awesome, very fun. As a story, I really
Good.
just was not that invested.
It's not.
As it's not as bad as because Tears of the Kingdom definitely has like the weakest story to Zelda game I've played so far. Like, ooh, Sacred Stone Demon King. It's a meme for a reason. But it's so sad to see them like kind of move away from
What? Yeah.
experimenting with what like being a hero means, with what like having what going against your destiny is like, what being part of a destiny is like. It's like they have cool ideas and then they just don't act upon them, and it makes me really sad because those ideas are so sick.
Yeah. I'll probably elaborate more on this in my closing thoughts, but I feel like what was always at the heart of Zelda was its story. Cause like that's like Mario, like at least for me, in the older like like N64 days, stuff like that. Zelda was the one that was like over the top, great stories, where as Mario was more gameplay focused. Like it was like great gameplay and stuff like that, but it didn't focus on story. Where Zelda was the opposite, where it focused a lot on its story and its characters and less so on its gameplay. And I feel like that's like sort of at the heart of what Zelda is. And so to see them sort of abandoning that and instead going for really good gameplay and sort of throwing the story aside and not really caring about it, it kind of hurts, you know?
And
Guys,
to
I'm gonna be
preface-
entirely
and to
honest. I
preface-
disagree.
and to
I think
preface,
the
I want to preface this. The environmental storytelling in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is awesome.
Yes, I agree. I fully agree.
But the problem is that they do not have very like I don't like this whole
Experiencing the
recycle
story
of if you want to experience the story, you have to go out of your way. The story is not the focus. Your focus is exploration. The story is sort of like side content, like in Breath of the Wild with all of
Tears
the
of the Kingdom.
memories, Tears of the Kingdom with all the tears. Those are not the focal points. You can't beat the game without doing that. And it is not like required, and it will never, I want that story where every single thing feels like it's moving along. It's not like putting together a puzzle piece, and it's more like putting together like train tracks where one piece goes after another and not having this jumbled mess that I have to figure out on my own. That is what that is my gripe with the current formula of Zelda.
Yeah, when, like, at least for me, as someone who's played a lot of the older Zeldas, being able to see how the story progresses as you go through each dungeon, each event in the story, and how it all connects together, and playing Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, where you can literally go throughout the entire game without ever getting a hint at what the backstory is, like, that I feel like that's just a problem. I feel like that's very against what Zelda used to be. You know?
I'm kind of curious. I
Guys,
remember Guy was saying something. I'm kind of curious what he
Yeah.
is on this.
I'm gonna be entirely honest. I disagree with y'all's points on like Zelda being story first. I thought these games have always been like prioritizing adventure first and like unique problem solving with its with its items and whatnot. Because like no one is ever going to say that Ocarina of Time has like the best story in all of video games. Yet people will say it is the best game of all time. Why is that? It has great dungeons, it has great items, it has great exploration, good side quest, but no one's gonna say it has the best plot. I don't think the story is like the main focus of a Zelda game, and nor do I think it should.
I think what I'm trying to say is like I agree more with you in here. Gameplay first over the story, but like I think there are some points to be made with like it would really be nice if they tried to like put some more focus into it.
Yeah,
like some of those older games, like Ocarina of Time isn't like a grand masterpiece of a story or anything, but it at the very least was interesting.
And
like the time traveling stuff and shit. Once you got all the main 3 keepsakes at the beginning, and the twist that like that was Ganondorf's plan all along, that was really cool. Like I like that. I didn't get anything with that in these new games.
And here, let me just real quickly say, Ocarina of Time. Sure, people are going to say that like gameplay is a big thing, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying that as in the Nintendo like enterprise, the big story games were Zelda. It was
that's what I'm saying too.
It was not Mario. It was not Pokemon. It's not Pikmin. It's not like any of the other games. Now it's more like if you want like the story, you go play Xenoblade 1 or whatever. I think that's Nintendo. Yeah, it's Nintendo. But Zelda has always been the one where they have like an overarching story. There is a storyline to follow. In Ocarina of Time, that is the setup of Ganondorf being like the king's concierge, and him having a plan, and him having like you going to all of these different places that seem disconnected at first, but then all of them like connect together, and then like yes, at the end of the day, Zelda has always been an adventure game. You go, you explore the world, you get all these cool abilities, but those abilities had like purpose in the game. In Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it was just pick up a sword, fuse the sword, or in Tears of the Kingdom, woo, brand new weapon that you can mess around with. And this is where most of this is stemming from. Tears of the Kingdom had one of the laziest fucking writing pieces I have ever heard. When people asked where did the Sheikah go, and they said they disappeared.
It disappeared.
That's what they said. They didn't. There's no connection. Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are two connected games. Tears of the Kingdom takes place after Breath of the Wild, and they retconned like Guardians are gone, Sheikah Towers Island gone. One of my favorite things I've ever heard someone say is, in the depths, you should have been able to find like the old Sheikah Towers.
Hello, that was me. That was me.
Yes, it would have been sick, but my problem is that they have taken the focus off of like that so that they could bring in new gameplay. And that is my gripe with
exactly.
newest Zelda games, is that even though they do have like good environmental storytelling, their main storytelling, like the interactions between characters and all of that, is the weakest it's ever been.
Exactly. My gripe isn't to like, turn Zelda into Xenoblade where the story is the biggest focus. I'm saying don't throw it away. Don't get rid of it entirely. Like, I'm completely on Liam's side of this, of like, I would like I just want them to focus more on the story instead of throwing it aside. But we've been going on this point for a while. I think we should wrap up soon because we've been going on for a while.
Yeah, I'm down. No, I'm with that. And I mean, y'all bring up a good point that like the stuff missing in like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild is something that like is in Skyward Sword, which was like the last like traditional Zelda game. But I do want to make it apparent that like just because like some aspects are gone does not mean like the games themselves are bad, or like they're just gripes. You know what I mean?
I can't speak with Liam for Liam, but I'm not saying that. I love Tears of the Kingdom. I think it's great.
I have gripes
Um,
with that game, and that's for another time.
I think the
But
biggest point.
I do enjoy my time with the game. It's just will forever, I will always prefer some of the older games to the newer games, and that's just a me thing. I will always prefer them because of what they have done for me. Anyways, I'm gonna stop talking
I
about
think
that
just
forever.
to wrap it up with like these points of like the old versus the new. What's the best way to say this? Because God, we got really mixed into it there. You know.
yeah.
I think the reason we're talking about this so passionately is like because Skyward Sword showed us like such great aspects with the story and like with some aspects of the linear design. It just makes it hard to reflect on the newer games and be like, why don't they have this? Like, we still love both of them dearly. It's just we'd love to see some more aspects of one of them brought into the other to give it new life. Both of them are great, but they could both learn from each other because obviously they didn't completely stick with Skyward Sword for a reason because it does have flaws. But maybe there was still some lessons they could have taken from it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I think we should wrap up.
I concur.
Who wants to go first for a concluding thought?
I'll go first, considering I think I have the least amount of thoughts about this issue, about not issue, sorry, about Zelda Skyward Sword. But Zelda Skyward Sword was such a fantastic game. I cannot believe how great it was in terms of like just combat, story, dungeons. I'm really excited I got to play it, and I'm really glad that they re-released it for the Switch. If you haven't already, please get this game. It is so good. If you are interested at all, please get it. It's fantastic. Love the game. But yeah, that's my forte on Skyward Sword. I think it's fantastic.
Oh yeah. I guess I'll go next real quick. Skyward Sword overall is just another great Zelda game, and it has some of the best aspects of the series, but maybe also it has some of the worst in there as well, especially just with its repetitive nature. But overall, it's still a great game. There's a lot of fun items that people love and always mention like their top 10 Zelda items videos. Has some fantastic bosses, even if it does have a couple dips in quality. It has a very enjoyable story, especially compared to its other contemporaries in the Zelda games. And overall, it's just a fantastic little adventure. There's a lot of love and character with like the side quest. I love the world setting itself. And then I also just love the fun little adventure it is and how colorful the world it is to explore as well. And how it balances just the fun moments with like, oh, shit's getting serious when you like face up to characters like Demise. But yeah, overall, great game. I think it did get a lot of hate originally just because of its motion controls, but I think with the Switch remaster, that's no longer an issue. I think the only issue with the Switch remaster is probably its price point. You can get it cheaper now, but like it should not have been $60. I know we've already this in the past, and we'll probably argue about it more in the future. Maybe not right now since it's been going on for a bit, but I do not think it should have been $60, even though it's a fantastic game.
Pick though. Pick it up.
Yeah, if you can find it for a reasonable price at least.
Liam, do you want to
Or
go
not.
first?
I would
or-
like to go last.
All right, I'm perfect on that. So this is actually the third Zelda game I've ever played. I played Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening remake, and then this game when it came to Switch. And this is a great game. I think it's one of the best ones out of the 3D Zeldas that I've played, and I do want to say I haven't played Twilight Princess or Wind Waker, sadly, because I do not have a Wii U. So let's hope for Switch 2 that they bring remakes or remasters of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess to Switch, because that'd be super fun and awesome. But I think this is it's just such a great game. The gameplay, the dungeon design are all great. The story is one of the best we've got in Zelda's, with the characterization and just overall lore and story we get. And the only gripes I have with the game, which that being some of the bosses are shit, and the repetition, which we've all sort of got gripes with. Like, I feel like those few flaws do not bring it down that much in terms of like how great the game is as a whole. Um, and I definitely think you should, like, if anyone here who is still watching and avoided the spoiler warning, um, who hasn't played it, you should definitely play it because it's a great game. Obviously, you probably want to go with the Switch version since it's the most readily available, but and I will agree, it is definitely a little overpriced, for the minimal changes they made, but I still think that this is a great game and that you should pick it up. And you know, I really like the story. If me and Liam's little tangent there didn't give you that idea.
Yes. All right. This is the second Zelda game I ever played. I played Twilight Princess on the Wii, and then I played this on the Wii. I have, I love both of these Zelda games have a very special place in my heart because these are some of the first video games that I ever played that had a story. So I have a very special bond with Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess. And Skyward Sword was a game that I got on a whim because my dad said I could buy a video game, and I was looking on eBay and I saw Skyward Sword, and it was like a mint new copy for only like $15, and I was like, oh, that's steal. And then I bought it, and then I played it, and I played it so much. That is the first game I ever 100%ed. Every single aspect of that, for all of the flaws in the game, and there are flaws, I just look past that because I wear rose-tinted glasses when I play Zelda. I'm gonna be honest, I'm hella biased. But this game
Zelda's just peak like that.
It is, Zelda's just peak. Most of the characters in this game are the best renditions of the characters that have ever. This is my favorite rendition of Zelda. This is my favorite rendition of Impa, of Beetle, not of Link. I like Link in Twilight Princess more. I think he's got a very interesting. He's very interesting in Twilight Princess, but Zelda, Impa, Beetle, all of the characters just work so well. There's so many fun side quests. The toilet ghost side quest, the grave digger, the pumpkin patch. Oh my goodness, that one's I love that side quest. You can gamble. The Sky Island is the most like alive place that in a video game that I felt like that is there for a while. That place feels like the people who are there feel like real people, even if they're cartoony. It feels so alive. And then the ground place, you have the Kikwis, you have the little robot guys in the sand. Like every single place feels so alive, and every single time I go through that game, I have the most absolute blast. And Demise is my favorite boss fight of all time because of the story behind it, the setting, and the fact that you gotta, because I played on the Wii, you gotta raise your fucking Wii remote to the sky to strike him down. It's so sick. It's so cool. I absolutely adore this game, if you couldn't tell. And I cannot recommend it to anyone enough. It is easily one of the best games I've ever played. And now that we've talked about this, I might go back and play it again when I go home and go on my Wii.
Maybe get on the Switch, see what changes they've made.
Nah, I'm not gonna spend that money.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's worth, I promise.
But
Well,
the changes they've made to stick controls.
Skyward Sword, there's one thing I didn't mention. Along with the added stick controls, they did also just update the visuals, add in loading times as well. So like there is some nice stuff there. Again, it still isn't worth $60.
Doesn't talk as much.
So. Yeah, no, that as well. That is a big one.
Again,
it's still
like
it's still
Fi,
definitely overpriced in my opinion.
I also like.
All right. With that being said, I think we're done here, right? We're wrapping up.
Yeah. Other than my last point,
I want it on HD,
so you can screenshot the Groose.
Yes, If you enjoyed this video, make sure to skyward strike that like button.
Real. And if you think you would like more content like this, make sure to
Claw shot onto that comment section and and smash down with the mole mist to tell us what you think of this video.
use the moments
Maybe-
to smash the subscribe button.
Maybe tell us what your favorite part of Skyward Sword was, and maybe to tell Liam to finish Tears of the Kingdom.
And maybe we could use the
Well,
Gust
that being
Bellows to
said-
blow you over to some of our other videos if you're interested.
True. But with that being said, we have been Fetch Quest, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye,
Goodbye.
everybody.